Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकथा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 33, Activities of Lord Kapila. We are in the third section of this chapter, text 13 to 32, where we are discussing activities of Devahūti, how she conducted after being instructed by Kapila Muni. Text 16. पयफेन निभाषय्या दान्तारुक्म परिच्छिदा आसनानि च हैमानि सुस्पर्श आस्तराणि च. Translation.
The opulence of the household of Kardama Muni is described herein. The bed sheets and mattresses were all as white as the foam of milk. The chairs and benches were made of ivory and were covered by cloths of lace with golden filigree. And the couches were made of gold and had very soft pillows. Hare Krishna.
So this is the residential palace of Devahūti. So this is the opulence of Kardama Muni is being explained here. So Bhagavatam explains everything, right from the chairs and the benches and the bed sheets of the devotee's house up to the universal creation and destruction. This is the span of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Text 17. Svachya spatika kudyeshu mahamarakateshu cha ratna pradeepa abhanti lalana ratna sanyuta. Translation.
Translation. The walls of the house were made of first-class marble, decorated with valuable jewels. There was no need of light, for the household was illuminated by the rays of these jewels. The female members of the household were all amply decorated with jewelry. Purport. It is understood from this statement that the opulences of household life were exhibited in valuable jewels, ivory, first-class marble, and furniture made of gold and jewels. The clothes are also mentioned as being decorated with golden filigree. Everything actually had some value. It was not like the furniture of the present day, which is cast in valueless plastic or base metal. The way of Vedic civilization is that whatever was used in household affairs had to be valuable. In case of need, such items of value could be exchanged immediately. Thus, once broken and unwanted furniture and paraphernalia would never be without value. This system is still followed by Indians in household affairs. They keep metal utensils and golden ornaments or silver plates and valuable silk garments with gold embroidery, and in case of need, they can have some money in exchange immediately. There are exchanges for the money lenders and the householders. Hare Krishna.
So the walls of the house were the first-class marbles and valuable jewels. Now this is the constant description of Bharatavarsha, that there were the walls bedecked with the jewels. And even up to the 7th century, those, the Chinese travelers coming to India and writing about India and what they are witnessing, their documentary. Yuan Chuang and others, they all described about this, that, how the boundary was always marked with some golden, or, some sun, here, Ratna there. The female members, all the items were illuminated. There was no need of light. And the female members, they were amply decorated with jewelry. Lalana Ratna Sanyuta. Correct. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the opulence of the household life is exhibited by valuable jewels, ivory, and first class marble. And similarly, there is always gold and jewels in the house. There are silky cloths, and everything is made up of value. Unlike the current idea, Prabhupada says, unlike the modern day furniture, which is cast in the valueless plastic or some base metal, right? You have some white metal or base metal or plastic as, the furniture. What to speak of furniture nowadays? Even the abhushan that people are wearing, it is like सोने से कम नहीं खोने का गम नहीं kind of, that 1 gram jewelry kind of abhushan. And this shows actually how Kali Yuga, but people, manda bhagya upadrita. The bhagya keeps on going down and down. This is the manda bhagya. But that is not the way of Vedic civilization. Anything in the household affair, it has to be valuable. Why? Because at the time of need, it can be exchanged immediately. This is one of the reasons why people will, used to wear gold or even wear gold now, is that gold has the universal value. And, any place, if you are in need, you can always convert that gold into money, or whichever the currency, whichever the state one is stuck up in, whichever country one is stuck up in, and then get going of that emergency. Apatkal, that was the value. And the ladies especially, they were amply decorated with jewelry, Lalana Ratna Sanyuta. So these are the descriptions of palace of Devahūti. Text 18. Gruha Udyanam Kusumaitai Ramyam Bahuad Amaradrumaihi Kujata Vivva Mithunam Gayat Mattamaduvratam. Translation.
The compound of the main household was surrounded by beautiful gardens with sweet, fragrant flowers, and many trees which produced fresh fruit and were tall and beautiful. The attraction of such gardens was that singing birds would sit on the trees, and their chanting voices, as well as the humming sound of the bees, made the whole atmosphere as pleasing as possible.
Yeah, these are the compounds of the main household. Griha Udyana Kusumaihi. So Kusuma means, the flowers and fruits and flowers. Ramyam Bahu Amaradrumaihi. There were many, many kalpavriksha trees around, and which naturally attracted the humming bees and the singing birds. And then duet, Mithunam. Mithunam means duet. They were making the atmosphere very, very sweet atmosphere. I mean, just imagine the greatness of Devahūti. Bhagavatam is spending 10 plus verses describing the palace of Devahūti. Okay. What a great personality she is. Anyway, she is mother of God, Kapila Muni. And, worth this and more. Text 19. Yatra pravishtamatmanam vibhuda anuchara jaguhu vapyamutpalagandhimnyam kardamena upalalitam. Translation.
When Devahūti would enter that lovely garden to take her bath in the pond filled with lotus flowers, the associates of the denizens of heaven, the Gandharvas, would sing about Kardama's glorious household life. Her great husband Kardama gave her all protection at all times. Purport. The ideal husband-wife relationship is very nicely described in this statement. Kardama Muni gave Devahūti all sorts of comfort in his duty as a husband, but he was not at all attached to his wife. As soon as his son Kapiladeva was grown up, Kardama at once left all family connection. Similarly, Devahūti was the daughter of a great king, Swayambhuva Manu, and was qualified and beautiful. but she was completely dependent on the protection of her husband. According to Manu, women, the fair sex, should not have independence at any stage of life. In childhood, a woman must be under the protection of the parents. In youth, she must be under the protection of the husband, and in the old age, she must be under the protection of the grown children. Devahūti demonstrated all these statements of the Manu Samhita in her life. As a child, she was dependent on her father. Later, she was dependent on her husband, in spite of her opulence, and she was later on dependent on her son Kapiladeva. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So Devahūti would enter the lovely gardens and had the bathing there, and that time Gandharvas were singing the glories of Kardama Muni's glorious household life. And this is how Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the ideal husband-wife relationship is being demonstrated by Kardama Muni and Devahūti. Kardama Muni provided for all the facilities, and Devahūti, being daughter of a great king Swayambhu Manu, being wife of a great husband Kardama Muni, herself extremely qualified and beautiful, but she was completely dependent on the protection. Now, one thing to understand is dependent doesn't mean abala. Sometimes, these words may come up and, people feel, why I am dependent? No, I want to be independent. That is not the point here. The point here is that, just like the example is, Sita Mata, she was extremely powerful herself. In fact, there is a description that when Sita, when she was a small child, one day she saw this Shiva chap, Shivaji's Dhanush. And, the girls were playing around and some fruits were way up in the high on the tree. And all other girls started crying that, no, we want that fruit, want that fruit. And then Sita, being natural leader, the Rajakanya she was, she said that, okay, we'll get something. We get some lathi, we'll get some stick so that we can get the fruit. And she was just looking for the stick. And she saw this Shiva Dhanush. She picked up Shiva Dhanush and, started hitting the fruits. And all the guards literally fainted there. Because the Shiva Dhanush was so powerful that thousands of warriors used to lift that, walk a few steps, and then put it down, and you'll just gasp for their life. Again, breathe in, walk few steps, and put down. And this girl, small child, just picked up Shiva Dhanush, hit some fruits, and kept it back. Right now, when Sita Swayamvar was there, Janaka Maharaj felt that at least somebody should be able to do what Sita has done with left hand. Right. And therefore he kept that brata, he kept that vow there that anybody who is able to lift this Shiva Dhanush and bow the string it, then he can hold hand of Sita, and this was the reason behind. And then in that assembly, Ravana also came, and Ravana was unable to lift the Dhanush also, and he was humiliated and went back. Now, why we are discussing this? But when same Ravana captured Sita, Sita on her own did not destroy Ravana. This is the point. Right. Of course, now the yuga is different, the context is different. What we are discussing is Treta Yuga. Sita Devi and Lord Ram, they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to apply according to time, place, circumstances. But to understand this here, dependent doesn't mean abala. It is not that Sita was unable. Sita just said that, with my glance, I can destroy you, Ravana, along with your all Lanka. But that is not my duty, and therefore I will not do it. This is entrusted to my husband. Let Lord Ram come here, do the needful, and take me from here. So please understand this point, that dependent doesn't mean abala. So here, Devahūti was a great personality, and still she accepted the protection from her father in the childhood, from her husband in the youth, and then she was protected by Kapila Muni in the old age. And this is how she demonstrated. She followed her own father's book, Manu Samhita. Right. Text 20. Hitva tatipsam ipsitam tatam api akhandalayošitam kinchit chakaravadanam putra vishleshana atura. Translation.
Although her position was unique from all points of view, saintly Devahūti, in spite of all her possessions, which were envied even by the ladies of the heavenly planets, gave up all such comforts. She was only sorry that her great son was separated from her. Purport: Devahūti was not at all sorry at giving up her material comforts, but she was very much aggrieved at the separation of her son. It may be questioned here that if Devavati was not at all sorry to give up the material comforts of life, then why was she sorry about losing her son? Why was she so attached to her son? The answer is explained in the next verse. He was not an ordinary son. Her son was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can give up material attachment, therefore, only when one has attachment for the Supreme Person. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Parandrashtra nivartante. Only when one actually has some taste for spiritual existence can he be reluctant to follow the materialistic way of life.
In spite of all this, being her position very, very unique, we have seen that, personally extremely qualified, sister of Uttanapad and Priyavrat, daughter of Swayambhu Manu. She is wife of Kardama, and above everything else, mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Muni. Now, these words are very, very theoretical to us, mother of Kapila Muni. So, this is like, we are thinking, what is the mother of? But the experience of being mother of Kapila Muni is a fascinating experience, and we cannot just, we cannot just even imagine that what kind of experience Devavati must be having. So, although in spite of all her possessions, which were envied by the denizens of the heaven, she was very sorry that her great son was separated from her, Kapila Muni. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Devavati was not at all sorry for giving up her material comforts, but she was very aggrieved by her separation from her son, Kapila Muni. And somebody may ask why she was so aggrieved. And Prabhupada says the answer is given in next verse. Because her son was not any ordinary son, her son was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And she had the taste of serving her son. And now her son, being the mission accomplished, he just went to the forest. And now she is in great mood of separation. And this is the ultimate reward that the Supreme Lord will give. What is that reward? Service in separation. Correct. Service in separation, that is called as Viraha Bhava. And this is, being bestowed even on Devahūti, mother of Lord Kapila. Text 21. Vanam pravrajite patyau apatya virahatura. Beautiful words. Huh? Apatya viraha atura. Extremely distressed because of apatya viraha. Jnana tattva api abhut nashte vatse gau iva vatsalah.
Devothi's husband had already left home and accepted the renounced order of life. And then her only son, Kapila, left home. Although she knew all the truths of life and death, and although her heart was cleansed of all dirt, she was very aggrieved at the loss of her son, just as a cow is affected when her calf dies. Purport: a woman whose husband is away from home or has taken the renounced order of life should not be very sorry because she still has the presence of her husband's representative. That's her son. It is said in the Vedic scriptures, Atmaiva Putro Jayate. The husband's body is represented by the son. Strictly speaking, a woman is never widowed if she has a grown son. Devahūti was not very much affected while Kapila Muni was there, but upon his departure she was very afflicted. She grieved, not because of her worldly relations with Kardama Muni, but because of her sincere love for the personality of Godhead. The example given here is that Devahūti became just like a cow who has lost her calf. A cow bereft of her calf cries day and night. Similarly, Devahūti was aggrieved, and she always cried and requested her friends and relatives, please. bring my son home so that I may live. Otherwise, I shall die. This intense affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although manifested as affection for one son, is spiritually beneficial. Attachment for a material son obliges one to remain in material existence, but the same attachment, when transferred to the Supreme Lord, brings one elevation to the spiritual world in the association of the Lord. Every woman can qualify herself as much as Devahūti, and then can also have the Supreme Godhead as her son. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can appear as the son of Devahūti, he can also appear as the son of any other woman, provided that woman is qualified. If one gets the Supreme Lord as a son, one can have the benefit of bringing up a nice son in this world and at the same time get promotion to the spiritual world to become the face to face associate of the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Devahuti's husband had already left, and now her only son Kapila also left the house. She was aware of all the truths, but still she was greatly aggrieved. Apatya viraha atura. And just like Vatse Gauriva Vatsala. Vatse Gauriva Vatsala. Gauriva means, just like the cow is affected when her calf dies, is a very, very intense affection. Similarly, Devahūti was always afflicted from the separation of Kapila Muni. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, a woman whose husband is away or has taken sannyas has nothing to be very sorry if she has a grown-up son. Why? Because the grown-up son literally represents the husband. And this is a beautiful relationship, actually. One will find the same shelter, one will find the same support in one's grown-up son. And similarly, the father will find the same affection in one's daughter. And sometimes, later, in fact, here in this pastime only, we see that Swayambhuva Manu addressing Devahūti sometimes as Amba, oh my mother. And this is a very, very affectionate address. Actually, Devahūti is a daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. But she's generally, daughters are so affectionate to father that, it is like the second mother. That is the daughter, motherly affection coming through daughter. And similarly, the protection, the son is supposed to be especially protecting one's mother. Especially when the father is not there or father has taken sannyas. But in this case, Devahūti, her husband had already taken sannyas, and now the son, the only son, he also had taken sannyas, and therefore she grieved. And because of out of her very intense, sincere love for the personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada writes, Devahūti just became like a cow who has lost her calf. A cow bereft of her calf cries day and night. And one can just imagine what kind of horrible karma these beef eaters are collecting, right? So all that, every tear that is being shed by the cow and every blood drop that is being, by the calf and the items that they are eating is going to come back horribly in all their next lives. And therefore, this, especially all types of meat and especially beef is very highly condemned. Because, here you can see the cow bereft of her calf cries day and night. And similarly, Devahūti always aggrieved and requested her friends and relatives, please bring my son home, otherwise I shall die. And this kind of a very intense separation from the Supreme Lord is the sign of highest love for the Supreme Lord, is the highest viraha bhav. The same intensity of affection we can see in the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Sachimata, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and Sachimata very intensely praying for return. And same intensity one can see in Krishna Leela, when, Brajavasis, they crying day and night for association of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And the same intensity we can see in Rama Leela, where, Dasharath Maharaj, he departing from this world in separation from his son and chanting the names Ram, 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 so this is the same intensity of separation. So there is a natural tendency to be attached to our friends and relatives, especially children. Sa eva sadhu shukruto mokshadvaram apavritam. But when the same tendency being attached is transferred to the Supreme Lord, same tendency becomes the cause of one's liberation. Right? The same attachment, Prabhupada writes, when transferred to the Supreme Lord, brings one elevation to the spiritual world in the association of Supreme Lord. And then Prabhupada gives a good news. What is the good news? Every woman can qualify herself as much as Devahūti. Possible? Yeah, possible. Every woman can qualify herself as Devahūti and can achieve the Supreme Lord as her son. Right? Just like the Lord appeared as the son of Devahūti, he can appear as son of anybody. And that is the potency of one's devotional service. And by performing such devotional service, devotee has unimaginable, the future, as good as, as much as receiving the Supreme Lord as one's own son. Text 22. तमेव ध्यायतिं देवम् अपत्यं कपिलं हरिं बभूव अचिरत वत्स निस्पृहा तादृशे गृहे. Translation.
Translation. O Vidura, thus always meditating upon her son, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapiladeva, she very soon became unattached to her nicely decorated home. Purport. Here is a practical example of how one can elevate oneself in spiritual advancement by Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Kapiladeva is Kṛṣṇa, and he appeared as the son of Devahūti. After Kapiladeva left home, Devahūti was absorbed in thought of him, and thus she was always Kṛṣṇa conscious. Her constant situation in Kṛṣṇa consciousness enabled her to be detached from hearth and home. Unless you are able to transfer attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no possibility of becoming freed from material attachment. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, therefore, confirms that it is not possible for one to become liberated by cultivation of empiric philosophical speculation. Simply knowing that one is not matter but spirit soul, or Brahman, does not purify one's intelligence. Even if the impersonalist reaches the highest platform of spiritual realization, he falls down again to material attachment because of not being situated in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The devotees adopt the devotional process, hearing about the Supreme Lord's pastimes and glorifying his activities, and thereby always remembering his beautiful eternal form. By rendering service, becoming his friend or his servant, and offering him everything that one possesses, one is able to enter into the kingdom of God. As it is said in Bhagavad Gita, Tato Mam Tattvato Jnanatva. After discharging pure devotional service, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in fact, and thus one becomes eligible to enter into his association in one of the spiritual planets. Hare Krishna.
Thus always meditating on her son in very intense viraha bhav. Look at the word here also, apatya. Tameva dhyayatim devam apatyam kapilam harim. Meditating on her son, apatya, who is Kapilam, who is Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very soon, achirat, she became unattached from her nicely decorated home. Nispruha tadrushe gruhi. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, here is the practical example of how one can elevate oneself in spiritual life by Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Right. So, Devahūti, she was constantly meditating on the Supreme Lord Kapila. And by that constant meditation on the Supreme, by that spiritual attachment, the material attachment went away. Unless one is able to transfer one's attachment to the Supreme, there is no possibility of detachment. So here, it is not about, bhakti is not about killing attachment, destroying affection, and, becoming shunya. That is not bhakti. Bhakti is just like, we are so naturally attached. Just transfer the attachment from material to spiritual. Like, we like to eat good food. Transfer that. How? If we are a foodie, how? Just prepare for the pleasure of the Lord, do offering and honor prasadam. Right? It is not that we give up rasgulla. We prepare rasgulla, offer it to Lord, it becomes prasad and accept rasgulla. So devotional service is not about detachment so much. Devotional service is about engagement. Right? And when thus it is transferred from material to spiritual, one becomes purified. Srila Prabhupada says, just like the empiric philosophers, they are constantly chanting without getting interested in bhakti. They are simply interested in jnana and thinking, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. They are chanting rounds of Aham Brahmasmi, but that will not purify them. Even that speculation, they may reach, or they think themselves they have reached, Aruya Krishnena Parampadam, Patanti Adho. There is always Patanti Adho. Point of falling to the material platform. But devotees, they adopt devotional service. They will glorify the Supreme Lord, Smaranam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, performing, rendering devotional service. And by doing all this, Tato Mam Tatvato Jnatva, Vishate Tadanantaram, they will enter the association of the Supreme Lord in the divine planets of Vaikuntha. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhupada, Prabhuji.
Greetings of Teachers' Day, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Happy Teachers Day, everyone. Ultimate teacher
Everyone.
is Srila Prabhupada. So let us pass on all greetings to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes,
Jai Srila
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you,
But
Prabhupada.
Thakur's appearance day also.
Thank you, everyone.